We're trying something new this year. We're actually going to do a live stream of this keynote address. On the internet, I posted it on our Facebook page for our members to join us who aren't able to be here at the convention. And also we've got a group of high school students in Massachusetts who in their economics class this year studying American manufacturing, and specifically as it relates to the watchmaking industry. We've invited them also to listen in to our keynote address this year. And so if you guys would be sure that your phones are silenced, that will allow us to have fewer disturbances in that, assuming that technology allows everything to go good. I lost my connection once already. So hopefully everything will work well there. So we're really excited to be celebrating this year at our convention the rebirth of American watch manufacturing. Now I know there are clock makers amongst us who might be concerned that we're focusing on watches, but the fact is that clock manufacturing has been consistently going on in the US for a long time. Chelsea Clock Company still produces clocks right here in the United States. It never went away. It's still going on in a strong fashion, and we're very proud of that. And we welcome several representatives from Chelsea Clock with us today. We're glad to have them here, and we're glad that they're still making their clocks right here in the United States of America. Watch manufacturing, yes, it did disappear for a little while, but it's coming back quite strong, and we're celebrating that because we're excited about it. And because we want to encourage as much of it as possible. We'd like to encourage more clock manufacturing as well, besides just what Chelsea's doing. And so when I say watch, I'm talking about all kinds of timekeepers, anything related to our industry. Mark, can you drive my slide presentation as well? I pointed you when I want you to go ahead and pull up the next slide. All right. So I'm going to give a brief history of American watch manufacturing. Most of you probably already know this. It's nothing new to you. You've heard this story. But I thought it was an important place to start, a little foundation to build on as we move forward from this. The story of watchmaking in America is not one of great horological inventions or improvements, at least not until the era of the electronic watch. The story of American watchmaking is the story of changing the way in which watches were made. It's the story of how we employed people and machines to manufacture interchangeable parts. It's the story of upsetting the status quo and delivering a very high quality product at a reasonable price. Oh, yeah, sorry. Go back. I was already on that. There was very little watch manufacturing in colonial America. But about the same time as the United States of America came into being, there began to be independent manufacturers of watches in the United States. Initially, these watchmakers used the traditional tools and methods of English watchmakers. As manufacturing changed in other industries, the watchmaking industry followed suit. Beginning in Connecticut around 1800, Eli Terry became one of the first clockmakers to successfully mass-produce clocks with interchangeable parts. And by 1838, the Pitkins had developed machinery to mass-produce watches with interchangeable parts. And by the middle of the 19th century, multiple factories began to pop up using interchangeable parts and assembly line processes to build watches. Some of these companies included the Warren Manufacturing Company, which would later become the Boston Watch Company, and then the American Walton Watch Company. The E. Howard Watch and Clock Company, the National Watch Company, which would become Elgin National Watch Company, Hampton, Illinois, Lancaster, Rockford, the list goes on. By 1880, there were more than 20 major watch factories. The introduction of dollar watches in the 1870s and railroad standards in the 1890s meant that U.S. production of watches was not only efficient, but was able to produce watches of every quality, from the inexpensive everyman's watch, an American invention before we had these, it was just a way for every man to have a watch, to the highly precise timepieces that were needed to keep our railroads safe. The period from 1880 to 1910 was really the heyday of American watch manufacturing. With our factories producing the finest watches in the world, watch production would continue all the way through World War II, but began to decline after World War I as factories lagged behind the European factories, who by this time had begun using US machinery and adopted our serialized techniques to produce the wristwatches that had gained in popularity. Throughout all of this, the US industry produced staggering numbers of watches. By 1890, the US watch industry had produced more than 10 million jeweled watches, and by 1910, more than 30 million high-grade jeweled watches. Despite the decline of the industry, they continued to be extremely prolific, producing more than 80 million jeweled watches by 1930. If we add into the mix the dollar watches and the lower grade watches, the US had produced almost 200 million watches by 1930. 200 million. Ultimately, when it came to wristwatch production, the Swiss would overtake the American companies. And after US factories transitioned to support of the war effort during World War II, there were very few American brands manufacturing watch movements. For whatever reason, the US manufacturers never transitioned to automatic movements at all. Elgin is the only US company to produce an automatic movement. The majority of watches sold in the US after World War II were either imported or manufactured with imported movements. By the time the last pocket watch movements rolled off the line at the Hamilton Watch Company in 1969, American movement production was essentially non-existent, with a few exceptions, like the Bulova Accutron movement produced from 59 until 77. American companies flourished at the turn of the 20th century when they came up with new and innovative production techniques. They scaled their operations to meet the demand and were able to reduce prices enough to create new demand. American companies solved production challenges and delivered high-quality goods at amazing prices. They focused on specific areas of the market and excelled. Having obtained success, these companies were very slow to adapt to the changing environment. They continued producing primarily pocket watch movements well beyond the popularity, and failed to tool up to produce wristwatch movements with the same skill and scale they had done for pocket watches. We looked at the past so that we don't repeat it. As American horological manufacturing returns, we need to continue to innovate, be willing to constantly adapt and change our methods. We must not accept what others are doing as the only way or the best way. America didn't become great by simply doing what others before have already done. I truly believe that America can once again support a horological manufacturing industry. With this brief history of where we have been, I'd like to introduce to you Michael Wilson. In 2012, Michael co-founded Nile Luxury in Karen with Marco Rennick. As a Kansas City native, Michael has spent over 15 years building companies, including Wavelength Media, that was acquired by Salo Rennick in December of 2013. Nile watches feature cases designed and manufactured in the United States with eternal movements. Michael believes in the ingenuity and the hard work of the American people and is committed to growing a luxury brand which manufactures in the United States of America. I could say much more about Nile, but I don't want to steal all of Michael's thunder. Please welcome Michael Wilson to share about Nile Luxury and his vision for the future of American watch.
Thank you for the warm round of applause as I make a switch between a PC and a Mac. Very, can be challenging sometimes. So, if you don't mind, I'm actually probably going to stand closer to here because I have a loud voice and I think it carries. So, if for any reason if you can't hear me, let me know. I'll just keep making it louder. It'll make it a lot easier on all of us. As they're getting set up, first off, I want to thank you for having me here. It's really great to be in this conference, and two, it feels great to be accepted amongst such great watchmakers and to receive such great praise. We got into this business as outsiders. I'm by trade not a watchmaker. So by things and greatest companies that we see that are watch companies were actually started not by watchmakers themselves. And so there's a massive respect that I have for watchmakers. My grandfather worked on clocks, and that's really where my first introduction to timekeeping as an industry was. Growing up around grandfather clocks and growing up around having them in my house and seeing them and fixing them. So, Mark as well, his grandfather was a watchmaker. So that's a lot of the resurgence in what we're seeing, and our passion for things really stems from our backgrounds and our history. And so we put watchmakers up on a pedestal because we believe in what we're doing, we believe in what they do. So we've had time to meet with quite a few of you here, and everyone's been, one, beyond kind, two, encouraging, three, provided a lot of really great feedback for us. And, I can tell you, being an outsider coming into the industry, that's one of those things you fear, right? Is that you're going to get it, and then you get rejected by everybody that's in it, and you get cast as an outsider. So it's really been great. Fortunately, there's wonderful people here in town like Jules Burrell that has worked with us from day one. And sometimes people forget Jules Burrell doesn't just supply you parts. They're there for you to get on a phone and solve problems with. And fortunately for Kansas City, I guess we get a little pampered because we can go down to their place and have a question, and they'll just bring out 10 different options. And it's a great sales opportunity for them. I mean, having a watchmaking facility here. But we're very excited, one, to be building this company. And the introduction, it alluded a little bit to how our product is made. We make everything on our watch except for the movement in America, and a lot of it right here in Kansas City. And I'm talking about cases, bezels, crowns, crown tube, gaskets, screws, every last physical part that you'll see on our watch except for the movement, we make here in America. It was massively difficult. It's still massively difficult, and that's only a portion of the way. We need to keep going. There are people in this room that are working on technologies that's going to make it way easier for the rest of us to start brands, or even someone like Keynote to move into the movement production side of the business. And so really what you see today is us that has worked top down of working on cases and glass and crowns and gaskets all the way down to the movement. And there are people that are working down from the escapement level up. And we're going to wind up meeting somewhere beautifully right in the middle. And so I'm very excited to be talking on this side of the presentation from transition from history of American watchmaking into what is the future of American horology. What is the future of the manufacturing side of the business? What would we love to see out of other brands here, out of American companies, out of all these things? What are the things that we want to see out of that? So that's what I'm going to walk through a little bit here in this presentation, and very excited. At the very end, I'll be around, stick around for some questions. Thank you. First and foremost, to the global economy, we do not exist. And I say that because, as we go to the next slide, if you look at the global economy of exports of watches, we're not on the list. We're not in the economic reports. We're not on the radars. People don't know us. Even companies and people in America don't know that there's any watch companies. You can, if you walk down the street and ask a United States citizen, name me a watch brand, they're probably going to say Rolex. They have the absolute dominance when it comes to brand mind share people, and obviously the lion's share of the marketplace in general. But we don't exist. We lost, as mentioned, production of timepieces to the Europeans. Now, granted, we had great people with great minds, machinery, but we wanted to go save the world. We started making bombs and munitions and other great things to save the world in World War I and World War II, and we just let it slip. And that still exists today. A lot of the manufacturers we're collaborating with, their core business is aerospace engineering, precision for Honeywell and the nuclear components. So that still exists today. What was once watchmaking is now making munitions and other things for aerospace and defense. When we got into this business, we decided we wanted to produce the best watch that we could in America, and that was not conducive to a low-priced product. In the past, the mentality has been cheaper, faster, better, but really now, to be an American company, you can be cheaper, faster, better, too. And I can tell you it can't be cheaper. And I can tell you that we do create phenomenal products here, but 21 out of the top 25 timepiece companies in the world that are luxury timepiece companies. They sell watches or have watches that are more than $5,000. So if you're chasing someone like us in our infancy from a business model, what can be sustained? What's going to be around at the start of a heritage brand? And so for us, we realized where the money's at is what the Swiss have dominated, the luxury price category, creating the best. What is created out of Switzerland accounts for about $30 billion in exports. That's massive for an industry like luxury watchmaking. Now, the whole category beyond luxury is even bigger. But with the Swiss, this is $30 billion a year in exports. That at one point in time when we were exporting a lot, there was billions of dollars being exported. And that's a lot of money in the economy. But that $30 billion supports something. It supports over 55,000 employees within the Swiss watchmaking industry. They get paid on average, Swiss watchmaker on average makes $67,000 in United States dollars, converted to United States dollars. In America, according to salary.com, the average is $33,000. That's pretty close to half that. And it's very surprising, but there's one key part of why that price that a company has to pay for a watchmaker is much, much higher. And it really boils down to manufacturing. Our economy is built on, as watchmakers, you go to school and you work at a service department or you restore, or you may work for a smaller brand, but we are heavily driven by service. And so when you go to the manufacturing side, it's a little bit different skill set. It's about production. It's about, cost of goods sold. It's a much different mindset and mentality when it's in manufacturing. The Swiss happen to have a very good infrastructure for that. They rallied at the right time to do so. The unfortunate part for the global economy and current status, the fortunate part for everybody in this room is winter is coming. Jean-Claude Bieber, I say that winter is coming line often, and it just worked out that yesterday Jean-Claude Bieber was basically giving the speech that, sorry guys, but 2016 is going to be a really tough year for Swiss watchmaking. We're getting beat up by digital and the Apple Watch, and China's not really working out like we wanted, and it's just going to be a really tough time for us. We're having to shake things up a little bit. And so right now is a very interesting time for American watchmaking. The Swiss are at a position where, while still very dominant, and while I still love many of the brands, it's just not a great time for them to make fast lateral moves in the different markets. So as the China market has gone down, Swiss watchmakers have kind of panicked. It was the opportunity to ramp up production to go into the next great luxury market, China, Hong Kong. These were going to be the great things that were going to change the business for them and keep them going. But as that's died off, there's another market that is now in 2016 going to be the largest market for luxury products, specifically watches in the world, which happens to be the great US of A. America. Our economy's turned around. We've gone through our own winter, and we're now coming out of that. That balance is shifted. There's a wonderful and great opportunity for us. When you look at America as the next great luxury market, especially for watches, Americans love watches. The data continues time and time again. Where does investable money from people go? The largest category is in watches and jewelry. And so the market's there. And that's where we really jumped in as a company, was seeing this opportunity, a little bit of foresight, some luck. And we've gotten into a position where, and we want to see other people get in this position where, as the economy changes to the U.S. market, we're there to support it, we're there to grow it. There really has not been, and you'll hear a lot of terminology, there's not been a mainstream luxury watch company, in my opinion, since Hampton. There's boutiques, there's great companies like RGM, but no one's really thought about, how do I create America's luxury watch? How do I create the Rolex of America? How do I create this thing that we can all rally behind? How can I create a series of companies to do that? And that's a little bit of our mindset, is to create, I just like the term, so-and-so is bringing watchmaking back to the United States. Because I don't want to bring watchmaking back from Switzerland to the United States, because the model we had didn't work. we are in an opportunity where we have the ability to create a new ecosystem that completely changes the entire global landscape of how watches are made. And that boils down to horological manufacturing. So for us, it's interesting because 60% of consumers in America and China, of all places, are willing to pay more money for a product if it's American. We found, and it's very odd, that wherever we go, people that we talk to all around the world, they love American products, and they cannot believe that we're making a luxury watch in America. And while we've got a ways to go to get to 100%, and there's great people in this room helping us get there, it's about iterating and not hesitating, getting out there, getting market feedback, and learning and evolving. And so it's been very fascinating working with people that the world really does like American products, and there's no reason why we should not be creating more luxury watch companies and manufacturing more watches in America. But at the end of the day, right now, the term made in the USA is confusing as hell. That is one of the most abused terms, loose terms. The law around it is as vague as the American law can get. And the term that gets abused out of all of it is the term made. Made to some people means I bought the Lego set in China and I assembled it here, and I can call that made in the USA. And we all know that deep down, well, we want to believe it, but deep down, made means manufactured. And that's where we're pushing. The deeper and deeper you get, we want to see more brands treat the word made to be sacred, that means manufactured. That it is important to invest time and money and resources in manufacturing here, not just from a global economy and job standpoint, but from a pure strategic standpoint. Winter is coming in Switzerland. Winter is coming in China. If you're buying all your watches from China today, let me know what happens in 5 years when the global economy changes. We are in a very strong and very well-backed economy, and I can tell you we've been positioned very well working here in the United States. But we sit at this crossroads right now. Winter is coming for the Swiss. America's the next great luxury country. Things are growing. Technology is fantastic. Americans have some of the best internet in the world. We have the manufacturing. We have the technology. We have great people that all exist within America, but we've lost the know-how and we've lost the desire to collaborate. And that's really part of what my message of what I want to drive in these next few slides is. What is it going to take in order to get this utopia world of a new economy that exists for horological manufacturing? And what that really boils down to at point one is focusing on American manufacturing. The thing I dislike more than anything else is when you call yourself an American brand and you get all your parts from China. That's number one on the top of the list of my biggest concerns. I can't, it should almost be outlawed that you can't say you're an American brand if nothing you do exists in here except for your headquarters. It's a very frustrating point. But what we have to focus on manufacturing low dollar jobs. Our lowest paid employee at NILE is $15 an hour, and that's where we're keeping it. There will always be more than that. Why? Because I don't want to pay an employee $7 an hour to sit at a machine or stitch straps or whatever that may be, because nobody wants that job. That's the reason why we had a conversation about wages. So if you want to raise manufacturing, you have to focus on technology. How do I make it better? How do I do it at scale? How do I give somebody a job and an opportunity to actually do something of value that isn't just sitting at a desk, slowly killing them over a lifetime? And that's the difference between what we can create in America and what the rest of the world can create. It's our focus on technology. My biggest point that I would say more than anything that we really have to embrace as an organization, as an industry, as a country, is choosing collaboration over control. We use this term all the time. Our whole company was started on the idea that I don't want to go buy $3 million of machines and spend 15 years trying to figure out how to make all this work for me. If I can talk with brilliant watchmakers, if I can work with a machinery company that's got $80 million in machines, it has all the QA equipment they've been running for Honeywell for 10 years, why would I go do it myself and try to control it when I can collaborate well with other people? And collaboration goes well beyond the manufacturing. It means collaborating with other brands. Right now, it's really easy for every one of us to take shots at a fellow watchmaker, and whether it's a watchmaker repairing for service, or that's another brand. It's easy to say, well, I don't like them because they don't do this, or I don't do that. When we take shots at each other, the only people that win is the rest of the global economy, the Germans, the Swiss, and the Chinese. Because all we're doing is squabbling over something that shouldn't need to be squabbled over. And so collaboration goes well beyond integrating with other people. Tear each other down. The second real big point is, being an outsider, I was very shocked what the standard is for service. I buy whatever X brand watch. It's Swiss. It's great. I spent $15,000 on it. I, accidentally knocked it off my kitchen counter, hit the floor, broke glass. It's got to be at least stated 90 days. We all know true turnaround times on many brands. But you got to tell the guy 90 days, and then you just apologize later. And it's the most unacceptable, ridiculous business model I've ever seen in my life. I cannot believe, as I got deeper and deeper into this business, how unacceptable the model has been for service. With the Swiss brands, they're making money off of parts and service, and they're looking at how they grow their profitability in parts. At Nile and other American watch companies, I don't want to see us make hordes of money off parts. You should be covering your costs and taking care of customers. It's absurd to me. I got into a line of questioning with Wesley Simmons from Illinois Watch Company. They baited me into a line of questioning that I didn't know I was getting myself into. But it helped me discover something that I couldn't believe. He said, hey, Mike, like somebody came by my store and they had a Nile watch, and you knew me and you knew that we had the standards to service your watch. Would you sell me parts? And I looked at him and I go, yeah. It was just a really odd question I was being asked. He's like, oh my God, I can't tell you how game-changing that is. And I started having conversations with watchmakers over the past few days about how companies won't even sell parts. And that just seems absurd to me. So at the end of the day, what I want to see out of American companies and what an American brand gets known and represented for is we are 100% the best in the world when it comes to service. You cannot outpace an American company when it comes to service. Average lead time stays 90 days for the Swiss. For Nile right now, it's 10 days. Now, granted, we're a small company and growing, but service always has to take priority over everything in order for American watch companies to compete in the global market. Specifically, we really do have to rethink the after-the-sale service structure. That's where, yes, Nile will sell parts directly to watchmakers. We will have a standard, but this is not something we want to hoard. I've listened, and that's where I love more feedback outside of here. If you've got a passion point of view of something that's a pain point for you as a watchmaker, call me. My phone number is at the end of this thing. You can reach out. I am all ears. We're here to listen, and especially being outsiders, but this is beyond that. This is the rest of any brand that gets started. I want to see more brands get started. Is if you're going down this path, please rethink the service side and really take care of your watchmakers, and let's rebuild in America what it really means to service a product. The thing that we often forget is there's two sides to this business. One, we got to make a watch. While massively difficult, it exists. You can make a watch. Whether it's from global parts or it's 100% sourced, you can make it, but it's not a great idea until somebody buys it. And that's the opposite side of the business, is you got to figure out how to sell these things. That's the thing that we as Americans have lacked. I spent a little bit of time in Europe, and sometimes people say, your designs look very European. Yes, Europeans have amazing design. Their website, their marketing, their brand, their product, they have amazing designs. Yes, I've been influenced a lot by Europeans of where the direction of our brand is going. But to build and rebuild an infrastructure, there has to be cash in the door to support it all. And you do that through building a brand. And when you build a brand, you have to exist for a reason. At Nile, we say we're building wearable reminders of what it means to be all in. And when we say that, we're capturing something that's very personal to us. We're entrepreneurs. We're capturing the entrepreneurial spirit with our brand. We say things like, at Nile can never be bought, only earned. And that's a statement about who we are. And so if you're a brand that just goes, yeah, we're a 40 millimeter case with a ETA 6497, that means nothing to the general consumer. It means a lot to us. But to grow and expand and build a company, you 100% have to focus on building a brand and focusing on that design aspect of this business. We sit in probably one of the most fantastic times to start a company. One of the really most fantastic times to start a watch company. Because I was looking back at some of the big brands that exist in the world. Hublot starting in the 80s. A Bell & Ross starting in the 90s. Even Shinola, who started not too long ago. Shinola is the closest one to where the world is today, but you're looking at a world where you can spend minimal amount of dollars and run Facebook and Instagram ads. You can connect with a whole group of buyers, people around the world that will love your product, all through digital channels. And so as we start companies here in America, I can tell you right now that there are a lot of groups that watch what luxury brands are doing online. And the general trend is they're not doing a great job. Yet we live in a country where things like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube exist in our American companies, where Google Fiber exists in this city, in Kansas City, now in multiple cities. We have this infrastructure to be able to be digitally focused as we create these companies. There's platforms like Shopify that anybody in this room could go create a store and start selling your straps or sell your watches that you produce or your vintage watches, whatever that is, and the design is great. We sit in an economy where we can be digitally focused while maintaining our idea of how we should be treating retail. Because we all know every brand really rather wish they could open up their own boutique and take triple the profit. But as American companies, just like rethinking service, we have to rethink how we treat retailers and what that mutually beneficial relationship looks like. We've got our own model, but I can tell you it is one of the most important things to the growth of Dial is how do we grow e-commerce and have that wonderful profitability. But on the other side of it, how do we treat retailers the right way and treat them as partners in a mutually beneficial relationship? We got to play the game. The Swiss have the rules. They set the rules. It's like the Swiss are very similar to diamonds. Diamonds are to De Beers as watches are to the Swiss watchmakers. They've dominated the industry. They've set the rules. They convinced the world that the Swiss watchmaking industry is the only place where you can get a good quality, best quality, or best in the world watch. And it's absurd because I know there's a bunch of people in this room that could outpace many of the brands around the world. And so we've got to play the game. We've got to look at, and we do this with Dial, but when you build a brand and you stand for something, you got to look at, how do I get this on the wrist of so-and-so? What do the other people do? Where are they advertising? Where are they marketing? Where are these ads going? There's a lot of thought that goes into the brand side of this business, and you got to play the game. But when you play the game, you got to play it different. We don't have the billions of dollars in infrastructure here to go play the same game that everybody else does. At Dial, we're playing Moneyball. Moneyball for us is the highest value, lowest dollar opportunities to make a bank. We've had amazing press opportunities. We work with athletes that love our products, that the other big brands aren't looking at buying their time. And the problem is, even when we do have money, I'm still not going to treat it the way many of the European brands have. I'm not going to buy out your retail space and tell you to bar you from having other products in your store. So we as American brands are not only faced with the challenge of infrastructure and manufacturing and talent and brand, we're also being pushed backward as we do that because there's a large industry that wants to make sure with their money that we don't get to a place where we've got a very large group of watchmakers in America. And I get it, it's competition, and I'm all about competition, but the way we're going to compete is Moneyball. Here today, and throughout the United States, there are a suite of people that are willing to help. Not just nine, this is a list of people that have helped us get to where we are. And that's where I say sometimes you forget someone like Jules Burrell. We walked into Jules Burrell with a question of we're shipping product and we send it to the retailer and they say it has thumbprints, but we know it didn't have thumbprints. He goes, well, I mean, what you really need is, and they bring out like 20 different things and they help us achieve and solve our problem. so people on this list, we're here to help. Number one, you can call me. I'm listing out some of my suppliers right here. If you call me, you're not a jerk. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help solve problems, answer questions about brand, and those types of things. You can always reach out to Niall personally. Salvo Reddick, Mark Reddick, my business partner in Niall, owns a company called Salvo Reddick, a marketing company. They are there to help people as well. Brand questions, website questions, those things. That's a resource for everybody here. AWCI, we also forget AWCI is here to help us. And it's beyond resources, it's also connections, questions. Who can I have? I need to find someone to make crown tubes for me. Do you know anybody? Ask those questions. Get outside your box, and you're going to be surprised. You're going to find a lot of great answers. The fourth one on this list, the fourth and the fifth are very exciting. Aterna is a Swiss company. And while I say things that, the Swiss dominates the market, I'm not looking to fight with the Swiss. I'd rather be accepted by the Swiss. I'd rather the Swiss see us as equivalents rather than inferior or somebody to fight. So what I found is the most collaborative Swiss company on the planet is Aterna. Aterna makes a phenomenal product. We've had no servicing issues with our current movements. And Samir will be here at the trade show, which I believe is Friday. And they have 100% changed the game for Niall. And I can tell you, they will change the game for you. They will supply you product. They're encouraging of Americans to bring in what they call American-based content. Start making your own nameplates and bridges. Let them certify it. Let them help you get to where you want. Massively different than what anybody's used to deal with. Corning is the makers of Gorilla Glass. They're the ones that make Hourglass as the only glass in luxury watchmaking that utilizes Corning Gorilla Glass, 2.5 times stronger than sapphire, and it keeps evolving. So Gorilla Glass 4 is now almost 4.5 times that of sapphire and close to easily scratch resistant. However, Corning really wants to be in the business. They want more Gorilla Glass on units. It was surprisingly easier to deal with Corning and make Gorilla Glass than it was to deal with sapphire makers to make something custom for us. So Corning is definitely here to help. Berger & Brown is our supplier that makes all of our metal parts here in Kansas City. They will be here on Friday. You'll be able to talk to them. They are switching their aerospace and their medical equipment to making items for horology. And they're making our cases, our crown tubes, our crowns, all sorts of things. You'll be able to talk to Berger & Brown. And then Jules Burrell, and we forget Adley Roma. Adley Roma makes half of their products here and half of it elsewhere for a price point reason. But if you call them up and say, hey, I need X strap and Y strap, and I need them American made, they'll make them custom for you, they'll re-stitch them for you, they'll give you exactly what you want, but you have to be collaborative. You gotta sell them on what you're doing. It's not a vendor relationship, it's a partner relationship. And really, at the end of the day, this is about iterating, not hesitating. We're all sitting in a room, a lot of us have the ideas of that this has got to be perfect. I need it exactly this way. It's not the way the real world works. When we went out in the marketplace, it's a very tough world to build a luxury watch company right now. And when we launched, we needed to iterate on the product a couple of times. And we took a lot of heat when we get started. Everybody wants you to be Rolex from day one. And you got to weather that storm. You got to have the thick skin. This is one of those businesses that requires the resilience to go build something of such great scale. And so get out there. If you want to create a product, there are other companies that are out there that are creating products, go do something. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to be able to iterate on your product. Learn from it, get better, build that brand, but also collaborate with the right people to make sure you move forward in the right direction. So as my last point of this, I'll leave you with this. We're at this place and this juncture where, having come from the outside of the business, I was too naive to even listen to half the things people told me no about. And we often get in our box that this is the way things have to be done. And sometimes our naive approach may hurt. Most of the time it's helpless. But what I want to see out of everybody, especially within American watchmaking, is a collaborative approach to rebuilding this infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, I want to be 5 years from now, sitting down with 3 people in this room that started a brand, that started parts manufacturing companies, that created silicon components, and be able to have drinks at an annual conference like this and talk about how we're going to help each other in X market, Y market, how we're going to build things up. Because at the really end of all of this, and our rebuilding of American manufacturing, collaboration 100% sets us apart from the rest of the world. And it's ultimately what creates what all of us want, which is more movements in America, more products in America, one hell of a great, more logical infrastructure in America. Thank you.
Anybody want to ask Michael any questions?
What's your method of distribution?
Twofold, retail and well, I guess you could say threefold: retail, digital, and then people love to tour. So our method of distribution has been a little bit non-traditional. So we're currently at Sybil. Our product, which is great, and especially if you build a brand, it's really hard with a luxury product. It's a see, feel, touch type of thing. So it's hard to go build a luxury brand or a watch, no matter who you are, if I cannot put it on my wrist and see it. So we launched Sybil. Sybil, we sold that product in 4 days, and they pushed it, and it's been a fantastic business. And so our growth moving forward is to always continue to focus on digital, the e-commerce sales, but partnering with stores throughout the United States. And I'm not looking, I did an approach that's very different about us, and I love to see other people, is I'm not asking a retailer, please take my product and sell it. I'm going, I need these to be in your store so I can drive traffic to there and you can sell it. And it's a different conversation, but it's very much let me push them into your store. Yes, sir.
Are we going to see these at the fair?
Yes. You'll be able to only see 2 of them because I'm totally sold out. And it was unfortunate I couldn't get them done in time for the event, but you'll be able to see, you actually, I you'll enjoy, you'll be able to see my watch, Mark Loren's daily watch, which is what you'll be able to see, which is about 6 months worth of wear. So you'll be able to see how the same leather is over daily use in 6 months. I would love to have pristine new ones all lined up, but that I got. Yes, sir.
I just want to make a comment. I totally agree with you that the Chinese consumer love products that are made in America, including watches. And I think that's why Hong Kong is the #1 watch market for Switzerland. And we would love to see an Irish company being marketed in Hong Kong.
I would love to as well, if you know somebody that can.
You know, the largest watch fair in the world. If you want to market your watch in Europe, of course, it's possible. But if you want to do it in Asia, you have to Hong Kong.
Absolutely, I would love that. And you bring up a really valid point. Is the thing to keep in mind as an American company is that while you look at big scale economics and things are hurting in China and Hong Kong, take out a very, 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 very small percent of that of new growth of an American brand. That's a lot of money. So that's our opportunity of growth.
I would point out that there are 2 American brands for which are doing very well in Hong Kong. One is Hamilton, and another one is Volvo. I think our consumer association is an American company, although they are not making in the U.S.
Sure. Yes, sir.
How close will you to the American movement?
I'm always very, very careful with that. I can tell you, when we do our movement, it will be done right. We are not going to rush it, because I want to be known at Nile. Similar to Apple, they're sometimes not the first, but damn it, when they come out with something, it's good. And that's very much where I want to be from our growth side. I can tell you it's time frame probably next 18 months for a prototype and a watch that we're able to, an automatic, and a watch that we're able to feel comfortable with going to scale. So it's in the next couple of years.
Would you be a distributor of the brand for this?
That's a good question. I would be doing that in partnership with other companies, and at the core of all those is the open source model. It's not the open source of everybody has the opportunity to the technology, but it is that everybody has the opportunity to be able to buy those parts and create the movements that you want. So when we talk about collaboration and control, yes, you will be able to contact the same people that we're in contact with and make your movement the way you want with the parts that you want. So the world of us, of having our own version of parts and manufacturing components, is 100% going to be there in the next couple of years. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Is your women's luxury line going to school?
Don't have a prototype yet on the women's luxury line. Karen, our women's brand is actually a separate brand. Men, it's wearable reminders of what it means to be all in. With Karen, it's wearable reminders of what it means to be you. And it's a two separated brands, and we should be launching in late October or November with it. It just depends on production. Yes, sir.
Michael, why don't you tell them how you came about Karen? What the name? I thought that was interesting.
So Karen is, at Nile, you could say the manufacturing side of it is somewhat disruptive, and that we're trying to do as much as humanly possible in America. The brand's got a good standpoint, but the model itself is not overly disruptive. We're playing in a big ball game with other people with our own niche and our own way to stand out. With Karen, I've got two little girls, Olivia and Everly. They're 3.5 and 10 months old. And as a father of two girls, I'm sitting here looking at them and going, you know, I think they want something, but if I listen to them, they'll tell me they want something different. And so I had a disconnect of me thinking what they wanted versus what they really needed from me. And it allowed me to look and listen. And I started listening to what women were buying. And you'll find a lot of women buy men's watches, 25%. So the name Karen stems from the name Nile. It's Nile's mother in Irish mythology. And when you pair all these together, what we have is this women's brand that we've created that really exists to honor what women are like in today's time. It's not about me as a man taking the Nile one, miniaturizing it, putting some pink on it, and it's calling it a woman's watch. But that's just a man's perspective of a woman's watch. So imagine what we're creating with this brand is something that is disrupted by pure model of brand, which is, I believe women seek equality at home. I believe they seek equality at work, and I really believe they seek equality in design. That's why they buy men's watches, and that's exactly what we're trying to give them, is a watch designed specifically for them with the needs that they want, but to completely capture what that woman in today's life.
Savvy watch consumer, often we've seen in our store, will come in, look at your watch, and find it for less online. And I find that very disheartening, but of course, most of our revenue comes from repair anyway. And so how is Nile and Karen going to control, or at least moderate, the ability of someone to undercut us online?
So online, we are the only platform we sell online currently is through Nile's store, and that is the same price as the retailer, and we always set it to the same price as the retailer. We do not discount on our website. We do not offer discounts ever. Typical, every watch they've sold, they've never had a discount, so they've never had to go, oh, well, let me be competitive and drop my price and cut my margin. And so for us, if it's sold online, while remaining collaborative about who sells these watches, because Typical has the opportunity to sell it on their website. They have the opportunity to sell it in their store, and it's pretty much the same price whether you go to the store or online. But we hold back all shipments online for at least 3 weeks. So if you order it online, you won't be able to get it for 3 weeks. Retail store production is ahead of that, and so the real incentive to the consumer, two-part is one, have innovation you can talk to, and service, but price-wise, it winds up being exactly the same price structure. and I have no desire to undercut our retailers. Yes, sir. Currently one Dibble, and we're expanding. We've got 6 markets that have said yes, which has been DC, New York, Toronto, Miami, Dallas, LA, well, and San Francisco. They've all said yes. Now, it's the tough part. You made a watch and you can sell it, but now you gotta like repeat that a few hundred and thousand times. We'll produce between June and the end of the year probably about 300 to 350 watches. And next year we're predicting and scheduling out between 1,500 and 3,000 watches. And so it's hard because to go from 100 to 3,000 in 18 months is like a whole new set of problems. But that's in retailing side of business, we just have to be very cautious of how we roll it out. Those retailers that are aggressive and want to partner and want to help, obviously we get to move with those people first because it makes life easier. Yes.
So in the Los Angeles market, does that mean we would have to deal with some distributor in Los Angeles if we want to carry or watch in our store? Or do we deal with you directly?
No, you do not have to deal with a distributor. I don't want to be like Brightling and have 2,500 retail stores. That requires a distributor. You simply can't handle it. Right now, you deal directly through us. You deal through a representative. His name is Jeremy Sickle, who manages our retail relationships. We partner on events. We spend money online. We don't ask you to dump forth the money in print. It's a very different model for what our co-market looks like. But no, we'd be dealing with us, and so there's not the ability for us to go, not my problem, that's a distributor's problem.
So we won't have a problem if we're doing repair, for example, a watch we sell, for example, that way we have with another Navy brand we won't mention this model, where they say that the model that we're asking for a crown on is 9 months old, therefore it's no longer available, as opposed to the act of Congress that says there's a 10-year obsolescence law.
It would be a really crappy business model if I wouldn't supply you that crown. And that's really what it boils down to.
You can hear the frustration on that.
Yes. And you can hear the shock from me. There's a lot of things that I hear where I just go, how are you in business with these other companies? It's a poor business model. Because we have accrued manufacturing knowledge, why wouldn't I just spend it? I've already got the machinery, I've got the tooling, I've got all the partners. Even if I was out of inventory, why wouldn't I spend up another 5 in order to be able to support the crown that I sold to you 9 months ago? I think just poor business model. So no, you do not have a problem, whatever that may be, getting parts from us and parts that are from. Yes, sir. The hardest part about that is money. You know, to carry inventory of gold cases at this stage of your company is as bad of a business model as not supplying that guy crown. The way that we're doing it, we'll be launching that very soon, will allow us to get to a capital place where we can start investing and carrying small amounts of inventory in it. Currently, it's available for special order. So we have a sample we can show and take photos of or get it launched, but it's special order from there. A little bit longer lead time. Yeah, and I can tell you that we got 2 models. We got the silver model and the black model that I'm wearing. Black model uses DLC coating. It's not good enough. And we are transitioning into new materials. Ceramic's one of them. So by start of 2016, you'll see our black models transition into titanium carbide black ceramic cases and vessels. So price will go up a little bit because of the expense of ceramic, but precious metal wise, we will be doing gold and non-precious but odd materials like ceramics, potentially carbon fiber stuff. Yes, sir.
Where would you price these in the marketplace?
So the Nile 1 that I'm wearing is at $4,250. We have a model. And our magic window will be in this $5,000 to $12,000 range for the core product line. Now, take gold, take the MSRP and triple it. That's pretty much how you have to price out gold models. So you could see a NIO 1.3 at $16,000 or something like that. But if our real wheelhouse is at $5,000. Yes, sir.
Since we're speaking on precious metals, I was trying to wonder, how do you define luxury watch?
That's an amazing question because sometimes people forget that luxury is an actual economic principle. It's not, I think I make a good product, therefore I call it luxury. I believe the luxury market really starts at the very bottom barrel of it at $1,800 or more is luxury, and everything else under that is not. But really true luxury of competitive in the Swiss market is there's a mental number among consumers of $5,000 or more. If you're under 5,000, I don't know if you're an expensive bad watch or you're a cheap good watch. And we all battle that. And everyone's gone maxed this out of that price point. So we started at $3,950 and consumers are like, yeah, I don't know. We sell more at the $5,250 price point with the subdial than we do in the mid-range. So how I define it, by economics, it's more than $1,800. By consumer mindset and behavior, over 5,000. Yes.
So you don't base it on the quality of the watch, you base it on price?
I do, because at the core of this, I believe we make an amazing watch, and I stand behind what we do, and that's why our price is what our price is, and I think it's actually a very fair price for what we're packing into this watch. We'll always be improving, but really, in this core structure of everything we do, when you use the term luxury, that deals with the consumer, not with you. And the consumer has a price point, it has an income, it has money to spend, and their mindset is different. That's why I dictated that. Yes, sir.
Also, why don't you explain to them about the gaskets, the transition from one gasket to another?
Yeah.
I think that might help to describe the luxury. Also, I think your point was made, really like talking, that basically $2.50 for a screw instead of 50 cents for a screw. So
Yeah.
you take it from there.
Because we manufacture all of our parts, there's nothing off the shelf about our watch. And so that's one, difficult because you then got to make everything and design everything. But two, that helps because you can start controlling things. One item is our gaskets. We make our own gaskets. They're out of nitro rubber right now. Problem with nitro rubber is it can't handle a large thermal shock. They can handle daily wear, but if I put this in the deep freezer and then I go put it in a pot of boiling water, the thing is just frozen and it cannot bounce back and forth. Nitrile gaskets for us are about 80 cents a piece right now. I need to transition to silicone, which is about $1.80 to $2.20 for a gasket. So I'm nearly double the price of my gasket, which on why would I care about another dollar? And so for what we do, where I'd love to see more brands focus their time on is if there's a better option, transition it and make a better product. Stop making the cheap things because you're afraid of your cost of goods sold going up by a percent. Also for us with screws, I had a good debate with Henry from Audemars Piguet because he was like, well, this doesn't look like you spend a lot of time on hand finishing. And I said, well, right now, Justin, our watchmaker, has to spend 8 minutes per screw with a ceramic stick cleaning out the heat stamp on our slotted screws. I said, when I see that, I think too much labor, and as a human's doing it, he can't make it perfect. Everything's going to have its own unique taste. And while the ultra luxury market, it dictates for 25 watchmakers spending a year of their life on one watch to sell for 120 grand. At the $5,000 price point, I'd rather chase perfection over handmade. And so for us, something like screws, we used to spend $1.12 on a screw coming out of Pennsylvania that was done in mass production. Heat stamp, you got this nasty burned slot on the top of the screw, and the transition to Burger Brown, which is running it on a set of machinery to spit out screws that come out perfect. You put them out, you dump them in a tumbler, and they have the perfect uniform polish on every single screw. And so therefore, I cut out 8 minutes per screw. I cut out not making things perfect. And while we could hire a bunch more watchmakers to make everything perfect, I believe in the power of technology, and I'd rather have my watchmakers doing more artisan things than polishing the screws on our cases. So it's a very different model.
One last question, right?
How much did that increase?
Short question.
How much did that increase your cost on the screws?
Increase the cost of screws from $1.12 to a little over $2.20. So I guess that's more than double, more than worth it if you counted labor. It's actually cheaper if I remove labor out of it, but we did not increase the cost of the product consumer by $1. So we did all the same. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
You say collaboration to be key. Can you say a little bit of how you think that all these brands can collaborate?
One of it is to stop feeling that everybody's out to steal your ideas and screw you over. That's like the core start of collaboration. The reason why I can tell you whatever I want and how I manufacture things in my process is my thing I protect is our brand. It is unique to us. It's the thing we created. You could go make the exact 901.3 and I'd still crush who was trying to crush me because it's my brand. And there's room for us all in the place. So at the end of the day, I'm not worried that anyone's going to steal an idea. And that's what fear is, what keeps a lot of us from moving forward with collaboration. We have to bury the fear and give it a chance. And sometimes we'll get burned, but we learn from it. You learn how to vet who are good people and who are not great people. And we've had our fair share of not great people. And we've had definitely our time where we wonder what the hell we are doing talking to these folks. But you got to give it all a chance. And that's where we've now learned how to be able to vet through and find who are the right people to work with. And I 100% is a very core collaboration, burying that fear and giving them all a shot. And that's really where it starts. Thank you very much.